Welcome to the European Sport Congress podcast, where we discuss sport projects and priorities with amazing guests who are leading sport innovation. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe and to follow the European Sport Congress on social media. Joining us, we have Emilio Fernández Peña, professor at the Autonomous University of Barcelona, where he's also the founder director of the Sport Research Institute. With an extensive experience as a researcher and in the foundation of different study centers, Emilio is also the director and designer of many courses. For instance, the new degree on interactive communication and the popular Coursera course, The Olympic Games and Media. With over 45 academic publications, Emilio is the author of the book Olympic Games Television and Social Media and an invited lecturer at many international universities. Emilio, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you feeling?
I am very happy, very glad to be with you, Sofia, and to be virtually in Gijón. This is one of my favorite places in the world.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to have you here and to host you here as well. So I'm very excited about this conversation because you are an expert on the main topic of this podcast, which is sport communication. And you have experience and knowledge that is relevant for all of our stakeholders in the sport community, from managers to researchers to athletes, to event organizers, everything. But I'd like to start by your experience within academia. So just in June, you gave a speech at the International Olympic Academy where you said, communicating is everything in life, and people are always communicating. However, research doesn't always leave the narrow circle, the narrow academic circle. Why do you think it's so difficult to overcome this barrier between academia and society?
Okay, it's not an easy question, but I am going to try to answer. First of all, the research is increasingly specialized. So in the different fields of knowledge, there are increasingly less interconnection between the different fields of knowledge as a consequence of that tendency, that trend to a specialization. So the specialists in a determinate area know very much about that determinate area, but they don't know about other areas. As a consequence of that, for communicating sometimes is not easy because the concepts, the methods, and so on and so forth, which are behind a very specialized field of knowledge, are complex for the public in general. If, of course, this is a question which is many times related or linked with the capacity of the scientific the scientist to communicate, because sometimes this is innate. This goes with the very nature of the researcher. Mm-hmm. But the question is, for communicating, you must simplify. This is a key issue. When you communicate, you must simplify things which many times are not so simple. Yeah. So the idea is to combine the idea of being rigorous, for being from the scientific point of view, correct with rigor, and at the same time try to simplify a little bit difficult or complex concepts in order to deliver them to the public in general. That is the enormous challenge we find or we face when it comes to the communication of science.
In your last paper called A Cross-Pollination of Fame, you have a great sentence that it also says that, which is, dominating the attention economy always requires excellence. But when you said that, you're not only referring to the professional excellence, like the researchers that you were just mentioned on being specialized in a field, but you were talking about this communication excellence. Now, this paper was obviously focused on athletes on Instagram, but I'd like to know if, besides simplifying, do you have any tips on how researchers can become communicator rock stars?
To be a rock star is very difficult. It's contradictory. because to be a rock star is to be a mass communicator. Mass
Yeah.
communicator is, as I told you before, the territory of the simple, very 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 simple ideas. And when we talk about science, many times we are talking about complex issues. But on the other hand, for dominating what we call the economy of attention, the idea is to draw the attention of the public, and how the public uh, is interested about something. Uh, Public usually is interested about something which is totally surprising,
Yeah.
totally what is or what has been traditionally on mass media, and the traditional mass media. The On traditional media we have uh, news or informations or reports which we deal with usual issues in the quality press. For example, in the traditional European quality press, European and American quality press, we have complex articles with delve into issues which must be explained in depth.
Yeah.
But what call the attention or draw the attention right now probably are issues of a different nature. the, we have we are in a context in which there is an enormous competition between many communication stimuli.
Yeah.
We have television, we have newspapers, which we have WhatsApp, we have social networking websites, we have many communicational stimulus. So it's increasingly difficult to draw the attention of the public, and the public only is going to get the attention about something if that is surprising. If that is
Okay.
surprising, the headline. The headline is a way to attract public's attention usually. But right now we need to communicate the complex issues in little doses, little capsules, probably being very direct, connecting what you are telling with people interests, because probably if you are doing research, not always you are doing things which are connected with the interest of the great majority of the population. But try to connect what you are doing when it comes to research with those interests. Could be a good formula, together with simplifying.
That's very, very good. And also, you just talked a bit before about how people are and how researchers are ever more specialized in specific fields. But you are working against that trend because you have just designed a new degree on on interactive communication, where basically you approach technology that mixes engineering, communication, and liberal arts. So you're trying to put it all under one umbrella. How do you think that this multidisciplinary tendency can help and can be used in sport communication when it comes to sport?
Is absolutely fundamental, because communication is a territory of multidisciplinarity. Because communication, we consider, or I consider as a researcher, communication as everything communicates. Every body are communicating. You are communicating with your smile, you are communicating when you are sleeping, you are communicating when you are die, a stone is communicating, a table is communicating, everything communicates. The idea of multidisciplinarity is fundamental when it comes to the policy, European policy, research policy. The idea of interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity is fundamental, is absolutely key, because the great challenges to which our European society are are facing right now request from complex answers, and complexity from the research point of view, deals with the idea of multidisciplinarity, of many perspectives,
Yeah.
of the combination of different fields of knowledge working together. So the complex societies, or increasingly complex societies, in the increasing uh, uh, complex problems we face in the European, in the Western, in the societies, request from this new approach, the approach of multidisciplinarity, the idea of researchers working together, researchers from the communication field, from computer science, for example, from education, from law, from economics, from different fields of area. In fact, I contributed to create in Barcelona. I am the director, the founder director of the Sport Research Institute in Barcelona, in the Autonomous University of Barcelona, which behind it, that idea of multidisciplinarity. We have 40 different researchers from 12 different departments in the Autonomous University of Barcelona, Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, which are collaborating in doing research on sport. And our doctoral program, the doctoral program of the Sport Research Institute in Barcelona, and the Autonomous University of Barcelona, is precisely focused in that idea of multidisciplinarity. We have five different lines, research lines, in which our students can do their PhD dissertations, issues related with urbanism, communication, economics, law, computer science, psychology of sport, and so on and so forth. The idea of multidisciplinarity enrich very much the capacity of creating new knowledge, and enrich very much the perspectives of this new knowledge.
I just love that idea that even a stone is communicating. I think I totally agree. And I think it's very relevant
For
for
you,
everybody.
a stone is communicating, an expert, because in communication, Sophia, the key in communication is the interpreter of communication. It's not the deliverer, the creator of the communication. The communicator is not the most important part. The most important part when it comes to communication are the audience, are the people who are listening to you, are watching to you, and are following your communication, your communication experiences.
The receivers completely agree. Now, you were just mentioning how you manage this institute with over 40 researchers from 15 different departments, and you also do a lot of research on social media. So you know the importance that this new buzzword community has, and it's gaining nowadays. How do you think that this idea of looking and building groups, communities, will influence sports?
The idea of communities is fundamental because communicating on social networks, on traditional social networks and digital social networks, is the way we have to achieve, to arrive to people who are not connected with you. The potentiality, the great potentiality of the communication social networks is the idea that you can you can arrive with your communication items to people who are not connected with you, who throughout people who are not your friends, but are friends of your friends. So the idea of communities gives you the capacity to increase the capacity of communicating with people who are not connected with you directly. So the idea of, for example, I have many examples. I have, for example, one of my students, my most brilliant students in Barcelona, Jose Gila. Jose Gila is a professional in a very good professional in a professional football club in Spain right now. He made his PhD dissertation about the Facebook, the Olympic Games, the Rio de Janeiro Olympic
Yeah.
Games on Facebook. And he concluded that the most successful international federations, the most successful sports on Facebook that moment were those which had the capacity, which shown the capacity of create great communities. For example, the swimming federation was one international swimming federation, creating communities of people linked to the sport and international publications and other sectors for example, sectors related with the construction of swimming pools, and create great communities of people, of companies, of communities, a community of communities of people linked to that idea. For example, the Equestrian Federation, the International Equestrian Federation, was the most successful of them. And they were very, very successful because they had, or they uh, uh, had the capacity of creating a community around the horses, the world of the horses. Not only equestrian sports, but the horses, where clothes regarding equestrian, the practice of different sports, different international publications, different international clubs, and so on and so forth. Having the capacity of creating a community, very interconnected community, because talking about communities is talking about interconnectedness, the capacity of interconnect many different actors in a way that permits you to, such as I told you, to arrive to more people than if your connection or your communication was on traditional media, to have a great capacity of indirect communication, to go to people who are beyond the direct links with different people.
Technology, as you were saying, plays a great role here in building and managing a community. You've already talked about a few examples, how Facebook and how using different hooks, let's say it like this, to catch the audience can help with that. But now talking more about more advanced technology, let's say AI, because you've also studied AI. How do you think that these new technologies can help grow and manage these communities, or do they have any influence at all?
I am not an apocalyptic. I am a man of technology. I adore technology. My research has devoted to technologies, new technologies from the very starting. But if I tell you the truth right now, I am a little bit worried
Why is that?
about yes, a little bit worried. Why? But I am not the only one. When it comes to international artificial intelligence, there is an important international community which are telling that we must uh, uh, think a little bit about the ethical consequences of international of artificial intelligence. So I am worried about that issue. This artificial intelligence will give us many opportunities to improve productivity, to give us very quick ways of disseminating, for example, science, creating news very quickly, and so on and so forth. Even though artificial intelligence is created to please the client. Let me tell you a little bit more about that,
Yes, please.
because an artificial intelligence is created for giving an answer always. You ask GPT chat or chat GPT, you ask or write a question about one issue, and the chat is going to tell you or to give you one answer. It doesn't matter that answer is perfect or even, it is the truth.
Okay.
The artificial intelligence right now is totally capable of telling lies. This is the conclusion. There is another challenge in the the capacity and the most amazing issue, more from the intellectual point of view, from my perspective, is being the capacity of the artificial intelligence for creating images. That is a challenge we face. That is
Yeah.
a challenge, most important, one of the most important challenges we face when it comes to the communication world, when it comes to the information world, when it comes to journalism, and when it comes to, it's going to affect societies like ours in Europe, which are based on our societies, public opinion societies. We are challenging an important moment in our history because it's going to affect the way we create public opinion. Social networking, with their capacity of communicating in a very simple way, very emotional way, and artificial intelligence with its capacity of communicating not necessarily the truth, are issues we are challenging our political, economic, sociological system in Europe and in the Western societies.
Now, Emil, if you allow me to move on to another topic, which is your very deep connection with the Olympic movement.
Okay.
So, you are a founding member of the scientific committee of the International Olympic Academy, and much of your research is on the Olympic Games. What do you think was the secret to turn the Olympic Games into such a major event as it is nowadays?
Okay, the idea, there are two elements which are important from the communicative point of view. On the one hand, on the one hand, the Olympic Games and sport in general as well, football and another majority sports, have the capacity of creating emotion, of transmitting emotion. The idea of transmitting emotion with throughout images is a good formula of success. It's an appropriate formula of success. On the other hand, we have uh, another idea. It's the plasticity of sport from the beauty. Sport create beautiful images. The images of effort, the images of people, athletes competing in a very very emotional moment, and the muscles in tension. Okay, the sport has that capacity. And if we talk about the Olympic Games, we have another element which is fundamental, and it's the idea of the rituals. The Olympic Games are not only just sport, are not only sports, and they go beyond sports. And it's the idea of the connection with antiquity, the connections with the values of humanism, the idea of the rituals, for example, the lighting ceremony in Olympia. That idea give an added value to the Olympic Games, which give which makes that the Olympic Games are much more than simple sport, are
Yeah.
complex, a complex world, very rich world of complexity, and of interaction between the past, the present, the symbols, the sport, the Olympic values, the superation of records, and so on and so forth.
Sport organizations or sport communicators that are trying to enlarge and grow their communities, their influence wherever, could also look at sport this way, has a history, has a narrative, and communicate it that way.
The idea of there is an idea which is important, that traditional media is focused on the exceptional, on the records, in order to get or to gain the what we call economy attention.
Yeah.
When we talk about economy attention, we are talking about the possibility of draw the attention of the public, of the
The
great,
click bites. Yeah.
yes, the great audiences. And in that sense, for example, the broadcasters have okay, the best product, which is probably the most beautiful product, adapted to to the way of watching new media even right now is the final in the Olympic Stadium, the final of the 1,000 meters final in the Olympic Stadium, probably 3-4 days before the closing ceremony, several days before the closing ceremony, because in less than 10 seconds we have everything. We have the preparation, we have the different stages of a great narrative.
Yeah.
As Aristotle told us, preparation, plot, and the final result. In only in 10 seconds, we have muscles, intention, competition. We have a beautiful narrative behind that idea. So traditional media is for the record, for the that what has the capacity of draw the attention of great masses of the public. Mass media is that idea. But for minority sports, we have or not so successful athletes. Not every athlete in the Olympic Games
Golden
get
medalist.
a
Yeah.
golden medal or a bronze medal. For the rest of the athletes, we have social media. They have their social media outlets, platforms. We have the Olympic Channel, for example, which is a channel created by the International Olympic Academy, International Olympic Committee for dominating the attention economy and focus on the millennials. The millennials, which don't watch so much television like the previous generations.
Yeah.
Probably you are a millennial as well,
Exactly. Yes.
so,
That's how I
so
follow
you
the Olympic
will
Games.
feel identified. So we have the combination of both. We have social media is more for results. Social media is for probably for behind the scenes photographs, videos, preparations, the personal life of athletes,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And both those communication systems are complementary, and social media give the capacity to the not so successful, not the winners, for be important as well.
That's great advice. How can these smaller organizations still that don't have access to that many resources and don't have televisions recording their every move, how can they use it? And what you just said makes total sense. Using social media to describe the narrative of the athletes, for instance, that's an amazing idea. Now, but we do have a problem here, which is what you just said. With the attention economy, we need to have novelty. We need to have something that quickly grabs the eye. And not always is it possible, or not possible, but is it easy for a sport organization to have this novelty idea? How can they still keep up with this continuously attention demanding audience?
$1,000 million question. Very, very, very difficult, Sophia. Very
I'm sorry.
because the competition between the different stimuli, communication stimuli, is tremendous.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to draw the attention of the public in a certain way. But I come back to a moment of the starting moment of this interview, in which I told you, or I highlighted the importance of communities. The idea for the modest sport organizations for creating a community together with other actors, which are not exactly the federation, the international federation, for example, or the International Olympic Committee, to create great networks, associated networks on social media of different actors which share the same purposes, with the same objectives, in order to create interconnectedness, to create idea of interconnection, of create a great system. When we're talking about social media, we are talking about a system, and when we talk about systems, we are talking about the idea of interconnection of different actors. So the idea is that that creating that communities, that interconnection, in order to go beyond our direct links, our direct communities, create complex communities of actors, not only in the field of sport, but in the field of lecture, which is close to sport, but is not always is sport. Uh, and the different companies, the industry of the sport, and so on and so forth. That could be an idea. The idea of community, of interconnectedness could be one formula, but it's not so easy, of course.
Yeah, you have to have knowledge. But for instance, it's just coming to my mind, and of course, this is not a small or a moderate sport organization, but the Spanish Olympic Committee have just started a new action where they have Twitch sessions with some athletes and all of that, so that people can talk to them. So I think that these smaller actions but more direct that involve the people are a great way of also building this community that you are saying, like actually putting the people, talking with them and engaging them in their actions. Now, Emilio, thank you so much for this, and I have one last question for you. You will be a speaker at the European Sport Congress, where you will be delivering a lab on project communication and dissemination. By the way, I'm very excited about attending that session. But my question is, what are your expectations for the European Sport Congress?
My expectations are very, very high. First of all, the city, Gijón. Gijón is the best city possible. Gijón is a very, very, very important European city in the world of sport, because there is a sport practice which is very high. We have professional football club with a great tradition in Spain, with the oldest stadium in Spain, for example, which is the stadium of Molinón. And there is an enormous sport practice between the citizens of Gijón. There are important associations devoted to disseminate or creating or producing sport. So it's a great city of sport on the one hand. The city shows a wonderful quality of life. In that idea of quality of life, sport has an important role. And then there is a group behind the organization of the Congress working very hard. So my expectations are enormous. I am sure that this Congress will grow with the pass of the time. It's very important for Spain and very important for Europe in general, that not the most well-known sport cities in Spain. There are many others. We have Barcelona, probably like a sport city in Spain. But Gijón is very similar to Barcelona in many aspects.
Gijón was also a city, sports city in
European city of sport. Yes, because sport for Gijón is true. It's important. It's important. Gijón is a very important city. It's not the best well-known city of sport in Spain, but it's surprising, a surprising, wonderful city. And people who come to the Congress will be amazed. I am totally, absolutely convinced of it. So my expectations are very, 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 very high.
Emilio, thank you so much for joining us today and for this amazing conversation about communicating sport in the new digital era. And I hope to talk to you again and to see you very, very soon. And at least at the European Sport Congress in September, we will meet again.
It has been really an enormous pleasure. Thank you very much.
The European Sport Congress brings together stakeholders from all over Europe to showcase their work, connect with potential partners, and learn from the experts. The 2023 edition of this event will take place in Spain this September, and you can find all the information and register at www.sportcongress.eu.